Okay, so REBT, Rational Emotive Behavior Therapy. Humans are born with the potential for both rational and irrational thinking. So this is really what we're doing here is kind of breaking that down. What are the components of REBT? What are the foundational beliefs? And so that they're born with both rational and irrational thinking. We originally learn irrational beliefs from others during our childhood. So our childhood matters. That's where we pick it up. We're modeled in these things. But later we reinforce these self-defeating beliefs. And so we are seeing it early and then continuing it on and reinforcing these this self-defeated thinking. We need to stop blaming ourselves and others for our problems, accept ourselves despite our flaws, that we can do those kinds of things that'll be helpful. Also, people can contribute to their problems by how they interpret events and situations. So, how we think about things is creating the problem. It's sustaining the problem. Our thoughts are doing that. It's an integrative approach because cognitions, emotions, and behaviors all interact. So they're all interconnected. There's a relatedness about them. The basic premise: emotions stem from our beliefs, reactions, and interpretations to things. Replace irrational beliefs with effective and rational cognitions. So this is how we help. So we take those irrational beliefs, we unplug them, we plug back in rational thoughts, then the whole thing starts to improve. Remember in cognitive behavioral therapy, it's sort of a circle or a triangle where you've got thoughts. Those thoughts drive feelings, the feelings drive behaviors, the behaviors drive more thoughts, and so on and so on and so on. So we're focusing on thinking and how we're acting. We're thinking, judging, analyzing, and doing. So the ABCs of REBT. This is some important concepts as well, and so the ABCs are quite helpful when using CBT. So A is what's the activating event, the behavior or the attitude. And then B is the belief about the event, and C is the consequence of the event. And so what is the event itself? What behavior or attitude comes from it? What's your belief and what are the consequences? And so the point here in the middle is B is largely the cause of C, not A. So it's our beliefs that cause the consequences, not the event itself. So it's how we interpret things that is causing the problems. It's not the event itself. So, and then it goes on to D, E, and F. You can remember this if you want. You certainly don't have to, but this is how we kind of get in and attack it. So we dispute these irrational beliefs. We put new and effective belief systems in place, which create a new set of feelings. So some techniques in REBT, lots of cognitive homework, looking for the shoulds, the oughts, and the musts. So I should do this. I must do this. I ought to do this. And so that's that irrational, unneeded pressure on themselves. Teach clients ABC model and help them to apply it. Change their language. Use new language patterns that reflect, instead of the language that reflects helplessness and self-condemnation. So giving them new language. So not that I failed at it. That would be self-defeating language. It is, I'm getting better at it each day. That little twist. So for the REBT counselor, there's really no mystery around it. We educate. It was once learned, it can be unlearned, about the counseling process, about their irrational beliefs. We're disputing these beliefs, challenging the client, emphasizing here and now experiences. So as much as we can, we're keeping the client in the here and now. An intense counselor-client relationship isn't required. And this one's kind of an interesting piece. In fact, too much warmth can be counterproductive. So too much of those Rogerian, person-centered, Carl Rogers, warmth, empathy, unconditional positive regard, those things will kind of get in the way a little bit. And so, according to CBT, so the counselor is open and direct. They're agreeing upon goals. There is an attempt for this relationship to be egalitarian or equal. However, it often reads a little more as the expert model. So we've got Beck here, Aaron Beck. He's our cognitive therapy guy. And so it falls under cognitive behavioral therapy. But he really focused pretty strongly on the cognitive component. And so, as I talked about earlier, we don't have a whole theory that we don't devote a whole week to cognitive therapy. This is its component, but Beck has something to do with this. So Beck is really well known for an assessment instrument he created called the Beck Depression Inventory. And so if you really want to make a lot of money in the counseling field, start creating assessments. Make them reliable, valid, go through all of those kinds of things. And assessments are so wildly expensive. My goodness, they are so expensive. And so that's part of what he did. The Beck Depression Inventory is pretty well known in the counseling assessment world. He founded the Beck Depression, or the Beck Institute, I'm sorry. And so, he was really interested in depression. He really spent, his whole life studying depressions, and what he noticed was that there is, cognitive distortions, that people that are depressed are often kind of beating themselves up cognitively as well.